What's up? What's up? Straight to the point. Sports and entertainment. We gotta have this conversation. Like I said, man, it's a tough conversation to have, but a lot of people are thinking about it, but they don't want to admit it. Okay, they don't want to admit it, especially people that are fanatics of this lion. And I'm gonna tell you that there's no bigger fan than me when we talk about the truth in Errol Spence. But we got to be real, and that's what I do here. Okay. Going into the fight initially with Terrence Crawford, with Buds, pretty much the majority of the people that I know and also my subs know that a couple of years ago, before they finally went ahead and made the fight, I had Errol Spence winning this fight. Okay? I didn't think that it was going to be any type of knockout or any type of stoppage or anything like that, but I knew it was going to go down to the wire. But I chose Errol Spence both on paper because of their resumes, and I just thought that Errol Spence at that time had enough to sustain what Terrence Bud Crawford was going to come with in the ring. And listen, I never took anything away from Terrence Bud Crawford, okay, because I did give him his credit. What made me start waking up and start looking at Terrence Bud Crawford as possibly being able to beat Errol Spence with the fact that when he got Sean Porter and he was able to beat Sean Porter in a fashion that Errol Spence was not able to, then that's when I kind of raised my eyebrows on everything. Now, fast forward to when they had fought. Okay, people are going to say that, Errol Spence, he didn't look the same. It wasn't the same, it wasn't the same Errol Spence. And they're right. Like he wasn't the same Errol Spence. Like he was the same in terms of his ability, but there was absolutely nothing that he could do with Terrence Bud Crawford at that time. He was on point. And the one thing that separated the two was that we always saw Terrence Bud Crawford always staying ready for battle. And like I said, it didn't take anything away from Errol Spence and what he was getting prepared for. But I think Terrence Bud Crawford prepared and truly showed you who was in preparation a lot better. Another reason why I had chose Errol Spence too was because of the physicality. Now, I did raise questions about the physicality too, because Terrence Bud Crawford is very strong for his size and for his weight. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's 5'8". He's walking around. He walks around at like 140 something, I think, and he's able to deadlift more than 400 pounds. okay? And I'm talking about a regular deadlift, not a pickup deadlift or an assisted deadlift or anything like that. Just straight off the ground, and doing it in the regular form, not no sumo deadlift either. Now, everybody was talking about how Errol Spence was high and all this other stuff. Let me roll the windows up. Everybody was talking about Errol Spence being all high and was he on drugs and all this other stuff. Nah, he wasn't on any type of drugs or anything like that, because, they wouldn't have. Man, he's going to come in, he's going to, come in and try to fight, clean. He wasn't high. It was fine. I know that, people going to talk about the odds and all that other stuff. But I know that Derrick James did have him training in the altitude, of the heat, in terms of running, and in like 100 plus heat, running lots of miles and stuff. And Kenny Porter had voiced his opinion on that, which is Sean Porter's father, and he said that wasn't a very good idea, okay? And a lot of people agreed with him. The other thing that we got to talk about too, with Errol Spence too, that a lot of people are, they get really crazy when you say this, is he needs to go ahead and retire. And a lot of people, when you say retirement, it's such a scary word for some people. And it's so scary that people get really defensive when you say that. But it's the truth. Okay? He has had a partially detached retina, and this was before when he was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao. But we all know how that went. Yordenis Ugas went ahead and stepped in his place, and he fought Manny Pacquiao, and he beat him convincingly. He beat Manny Pacquiao, and then he was able to jump in the ring with Ugas. Now, in that Ugas fight, yeah, Errol Spence won. He won. Let's not get it twisted. He won, but he was damaged in that fight too. And people got to realize that when we talk about the eye, Ugas had landed some hits, some vicious hits. Even at one point, he nearly got knocked out. We're talking about Errol Spence. Now, before I continue, let's also realize that, he had a car accident in which some people were amazed at the fact that he was still living, including me. I mean, if you go back and look at that accident, being the way that the car went and being flung, from the vehicle and everything, he's blessed to be alive. And then you got to take into account when he went into that fight with Terrence Crawford, in which he was knocked down and then eventually stopped. A lot of people were very concerned about Errol Spence, including myself. I was concerned for Errol Spence, because it was just like, wow, you had never seen Errol Spence dominated like that before at all. So here we are, and now Errol Spence is having eye surgery again, but this time it has to do with the cataracts. Okay, and we have to wonder what's going to take place if Errol Spence steps in there again. Now, what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about the man's future. Look, man, we all want to go out on our shield. It was the same thing with Deontay Wilder. You know, Deontay Wilder wanted to go out on his shield. It was when the ref, I was talking about that, his former trainer had stopped the fight in the Wilder fight when they had fought, and decided to throw it and stop the fight, in which he really didn't want to. He wanted to go out on his shield. Man, I understand all of that, you know what I'm saying, and that's great, you know, but at the same token, it'd be silly up here to say that a lot of these guys go into a fight and they don't think about, they don't think about the possibility of actually losing their life in the ring. You know what I'm saying? And these guys want to get out of the ring and also be able to have a good livelihood too. And that's what I'm thinking about when it comes to Errol Spence. We want Errol Spence to be able to play with his kids, to be able to enjoy his life afterwards. And that's what I'm looking at it as, you know what I'm saying? But you have fanatics out here, you have fans and stuff like that. I guarantee you, if Errol Spence was to say, you know what, I don't want to do it again, let me just go ahead and call it a career, I guarantee you all of his fans are going to turn on him, and they're going to say stupid stuff like, oh yeah, well, you're weak for not taking that fight again, and your legacy is going to be tarnished and all that other stuff, which isn't true at all. Okay, the man only had one defeat. And then also, people don't even understand the sport. You have a lot of casuals too, in boxing too as well, that really don't understand the sport, and they don't really understand what happens to you after a fight, after fighting consistently in the sport of boxing, much less any other sport that you play too. These guys still have to go and they have to live. These guys still have to, get up in the morning time just like anybody else. These guys still have to walk. These guys still have to do daily activities and stuff like that. I think he should go ahead and call it a career, because another reason that I'm looking at it too is I think that Earl is, he probably wants to do it for himself without a doubt, but I think, and I'm not in his head, but I think that he doesn't want to go, he doesn't want to go out like that for his fans either, and to me that's not a good way of thinking, to try to appease people that have never been in the ring, that have never played any type of physical sport, that have never dealt with any type of rigors when it comes to being an athlete. When it comes to the training and everything else that's involved, that comes with it, much less the media attention, the fans and stuff like that. So I think he should retire. You only got one life to live, and you want to be the best version of yourself. You don't want to be a person that's just going to be pretty much a walking vegetable. Okay, or you don't want to lose your eyesight, because Terrence Crawford is not, he's a knockout artist as well as he could box too. He could do pretty much everything. He's pound for pound. They have him arguably number one as a pound for pound boxer right now. And if he hits Errol Spence, who's to say that he won't lose his eyesight going forward in his career? And that's what I'm looking at it as. We got to look at it from that standpoint. So if I'm Errol Spence, man, I'm calling it a career. He doesn't have anything to prove. Okay, Errol Spence, even though he fought for undisputed and didn't quite get undisputed, he still has had a great career. And on top of that, he was able to, unlike some other boxers that decided to go ahead and leave out early and stuff, before the pressure got to them and stuff, he was able to go ahead and take risk. And not only that, he jumped right. The other thing that you got to give credit for Errol Spence is that right after the car accident, he was back to full strength. Some people were looking at him crazy and wondering, are you going to be all right and everything, But the car accident, it did take a lot out of him and stuff. When he fought Danny Garcia, he wasn't even, 100%. I think he was maybe about 70% of who he was. He even admitted that. So, besides that, that's my take on it. Y'all might feel differently, okay? I want to hear from you. Make sure you leave your comments. Like the video, share it, subscribe. Also hit the notifications so that you're notified too. I want to give a shout out to the Lions Den boxing community as well as the Lions Den basketball community. In this case, we was on boxing, so it's straight to the point, sports and entertainment. I'll get at y'all later.